What's good, family? It's your boy Poetic Zay, the smoothest poet in the land, forever known for speaking these words so poetic. Lay here with the first episode of Metaphors and Mics, where we bring good vibes, good energy, and good motion. Let's go. This week's special guest is a phenomenal spoken word artist, an inspiring community activist, and an incredible mother. I'll give it up for the one and only Miss Alyse Green. Alyse, Alyse, how you feeling?
I'm good.
Are you feeling good?
Yeah.
I'm glad you could be on the podcast, and not only that, but that you could be our first special guest of, for the branding of Metaphors and Mike, So
Happy to be.
the experience so far, you enjoyed it?
I have been, yeah.
Okay, I'm excited.
Nice in here.
I'm excited for like our viewers to really like get to experience a different side of you. We see you in the community performing, and you really been doing the thing since you came down here. But I feel like it's time for like people to know like the storyteller behind the story.
They don't really want to know me like that.
Nah, they do. They do. Trust me, like you here for a reason. So like tell us about that. Tell us about like before you get to the story, like who is the storyteller? Like who is Alyse Green? Where did she come from? Tell us about it.
So pretty much Alyse is just, I think of myself like a caged bird, like how Maya Angelou wrote, I don't know why the caged bird sing. I think of myself like that. It's like I'm out of the cage and I'm speaking, I'm talking and doing a lot of things that younger Alyse would never have been able to do. Because I think which is I appreciate a lot about Lost Voices, where you lose your voice at a young age. A lot of people will tell you, like your parents, okay, speak when you're only spoken to, or things like that. So my poetry comes from never being able to speak or being in the room all the time. And it's like, okay, well, I can't express how I feel, because if I do, they're going to look at it like I'm being defiant, I'm being rude, or it's just not important and things like that. So I said, you know what? I started taking moments and just writing down poems and things like that. And that started to help me to understand myself and who I am, and be centered in my own individuality too, because I also was looking for myself outside of my family, because I was adopted. So that's a thing.
Okay.
And I always felt different from my brothers and my sister and my mom and my dad. Like, yes, my mom, she is technically my aunt. So biologically, yes, we're related, but we're nothing alike. Maybe now, because, we're older and she's raised me. But at that time when I was younger, I didn't feel like I was like anybody else in my house, because I was responsible. I was a little silly and crazy, animated. I was a little daring too. And everybody else was like, doing their own thing, but they had their own little ways. And it's like, I didn't like people making fun of me. I was like, I'm caring. Don't do that. Like, be nice.
I'm a little sensitive too, I feel that.
Yeah. So it was like, I was always a little like black sheep-ish, but lighter skinned, I guess, because y'all be trying to say I'm not dark skinned, but it's cool. It's cool. So yeah.
Being adopted in New York, what part of New York?
Jamaica, Queens.
Jamaica,
Big
Queens.
South Side, you know what I'm saying?
look, I was a Southern boy, so but what was that like that dynamic of being adopted and
challenging. Very, very, very challenging, because like I said, there was a lot of times I didn't feel like I fit in, I didn't feel understood. I always was looking for something or somebody to relate to, and since I didn't get that at home, I would like cling to a lot of my friends a lot of the times and just be like, okay, these are my safe places or my safe havens, because home didn't feel like home. I always felt like I wanted to get away from it. And again, this is, it didn't really feel like anybody could understand me as a person, and they didn't want to understand me as a person. It was just like, you so different. And I was so quiet. So I never really talked to anybody, which is the funny thing about poetry, doing spoken word poetry. A lot of my family to this day are like, we can't believe you even do that, because you did not speak. You were a mute. You were sit there and just be quiet, or you sit in a corner and you keep your head down and things like that. So to see me now, they're like, yo, you're really actually funny as hell. Like, yeah, we've known you our whole life, but you're mad funny. Like, it's so different. So even with that, like my family and my cousins, I was kind of closer to a lot of my dad's side, which is odd, because that's technically my uncle, which is my mom, her husband. And that's just through marriage. So there is no relation there, but that's the family that I'm closer to, as opposed to my mom's side. Like I know them, but I'm not close to any of them. And you would think if I was adopted, even if it is by family, I would cling to the little bit of family I did have, but I really didn't. I cling to my dad's side, because they're really the people that made me feel like this is home, and like we accept you as you are. Like my grandmother, to this day, Lisa's my baby. You can't talk about my baby like
man. The grandmas be like that, especially mine. Like she is not gonna play about her grandson. Like I feel
that's how she is. So I'm like, it's just it feels good now. Like as I'm older and things like that. That adoption stuff was challenging, and even when I did find my mom and stuff like that, like we met when I was maybe I'll say 21, 22, somewhere around there, and I was like, okay, this my mama.
Yeah, what was that dynamic like? Because that usually people get that experience like in their younger years or in their adolescence, but you're an adult, so you're at a stage where you can process emotions and communicate them thoroughly. So
man, it was interesting because I had already had my daughter, so prior to like all of me, before I even met her, like I got the story from my my aunt that raised me when I was pregnant. I was about 8 months pregnant. I was like, what happened? Because I want to know, because, you know, I'm speaking to her. And if I do have her around my daughter, I want to know what I'm getting myself into. So I got that story. And then even before that, it was just like, everybody say, oh, you look just like, well, my mom, biological, they call her Boo Boo. You look just like Boo Boo. Oh my goodness. And I'm like, there's like, yep, you mean like her too. And I'm like, oh God. So I just look like this woman. I never met this woman.
You got the mannerisms of her?
Everything. So when I first went to go meet her, immediately I saw her and I was like, that's my mama. Damn. That's my mama.
Like looking in the mirror.
As soon as I saw her. But you know, it was like whatever. We met at my grandmother's house and she sat down and she talked, and my mom is not she's not 100% mentally all there. She has some things that she went through and some drugs and things like that. So she has some stuff happen to her. So she's not 100%, but it was like, okay, there was moments where it was like, I want to hate you and I don't want to like you, but I'm here listening. Yeah. You kind of sound a little interesting, but no, I don't like you for real. Cause you know, like it was just all over the place. But at the same time, it was like, I was glad that I did do it. Yeah. Did take the time to get to know her. I don't think I necessarily really needed in my life, but I appreciated the fact that I did go through with it and talk with her. Sometimes I do feel a little bit of regret, like maybe I should have kept the relationship with her, but sometimes I'm just like, I'm good with knowing that I'm a good mom. My daughter's never been taken away from me, and she knows what genuine love feels like every day and all day, and she knows her mother's never gone.
That's good. That's good. And I think that'll fuel you too on your journey of motherhood too, because you know, like I went through this and I know what I don't want to do, but I do know like the things that my daughter needs. So that's important too. I feel that. Tell me about, because you talked about like lost voices and what about that? Like tell me what lost voices is, or like what is it to you?
So to me, like I always say, it's just how I think of it is, you know, being young and losing your voice. So when I think about you guys going to the schools and mentoring or showcasing poetry to children and helping them learn how to do it and get their voice, it's important to let kids never lose their voice, because you don't realize how much you can learn from children. Yeah. And my child, literally, she's about to be 12 next week, and there's not one day or moment where I don't learn from her. So a lot of parents, I feel like, can take something from that. And I feel like lost voices is important, because obviously when y'all found me, it was at a time where I'm like, okay, I'm still in that journey where it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, where I'm going. You gave me a purpose. So for me now, it's like, well, I'm still not losing my voice, even when I feel like I want to give up. I don't want to do poetry anymore. Y'all be just in there like, you stupid? Yeah. Like, you can't give up. Like,
I think it's crazy because from us, what it looked like is like you already had that fire in you. Like, it just felt like we were in the process of building a tribe, and he like just blended with that tribe, you know, because I remember like me and Dre doing the groundwork, and it was me and him doing everything. And then it got to a point where I was like, bro, we need people. And it just kind of felt like the pieces just merged, like the puzzle pieces just came together, because like when you was touching the scene, I remember being at open mics like, who is this? Like, where'd she come from, you know? So, and I think like you still have that fire in you. So I think like it transitions to you saying like, always feeling the need to birth that voice. It was just like always in you. I think the challenge is in like trying to bring it out of us.
Yeah. I think that's in which I probably get into that too, but I feel like that's where I'm at. There's so many stories I don't tell. And I feel like the reason why I don't tell them, obviously, because I don't want my parents to be like, dang, you just gonna put us under the bus like that? But it's like, hey, this was true. Like, this is what I went through mentally and emotionally. Like, it's not an easy thing, and nobody wants to say these things about you, and it doesn't mean I don't love you or care about you, but there's somebody else that's going through it right now and contemplating, God forbid, suicide or worse, or, you know, retaliation or something like that, and they don't have to. If they could just prioritize, you know, get their emotions out, or feel like they're heard. That's the biggest thing in the world, is like if people actually felt like they were heard, because that's any arguments in the world, whether it be a war or whatever, everybody just want to get their point across. They just want to feel like somebody hear them. So if you feel like you heard, you be like, all right, chill. I'm good now. I don't want to fight no more. I don't want to do none of this. Like, we good. So right. I think that's the main thing. Yeah.
That's good. I was always curious about, like, because when you hear your poetry, like, you hear the passion and that fire, but like, where does that fire come from? Like, where does your love for poetry come from?
Man, all right. So I started because, I thought I could sing and stuff. So I used to just write songs. So,
you about to sing for us on the podcast?
Nah, let me stop.
No, go ahead.
Nah, I really did. I like to sing. I like music in general. But my dad, he's heavy on music, DJ and all that stuff like that. So I would listen to a lot of music. And for me, it was like, okay, well, I like music so much. I used to write lyrics all the time because, honestly speaking, my hands always felt like they needed to write. So I'm like, okay, well, let me just figure out what I'm going to do. I write lyrics. Then eventually I was like, well, let me try to write some songs. And I was like, well, you can't really sing that much, so this ain't working out. And then I was like, you know what? I like Tupac and he be doing poetry, so let me try a little poetry. And I was like, ooh, I think I'm good at this. And then I just kept on doing it. And it was just more an expression. It was like a diary in a sense. So I was like, okay, let me just keep on doing it. And then, I just started doing spoken word. It's
that's
like,
real.
So, yeah.
Especially because when you listen to you perform, you hear that like rhythmic cadence in you, and it's especially like in one of your poems, you really have like a part of your poem where you like, I'm finna rap. Like, and I think that's tough because like just like having those levels and dimensions to yourself within your poetry and being able to tell your story. Like, so
that's my man.
Not Tupac is my man. That's crazy.
Listen, all the rhyming, things like that, that's where that comes from. I didn't start learning all the extra stuff until later, like battle rap, all that. I didn't learn that till later. And it was just like, oh, I know what a bar is. Oh, it's crazy now. So it's different. But fire, like you said before, the fire just comes from pain. It's just wanting to be heard. That's it. And it's just like, I got a point to prove to somebody. And it's usually just between me and myself. Right. Eventually on stage, it was like, I'm heard now. Okay. I got a little more to say. So, yeah. But
so speaking of more to say, what challenges are you facing now when you're writing, since you kind of like, not kind of, but you definitely have established your foot in the present? Like, so what challenges do you face in your writing now, like creating new stories, telling those stories?
I feel like just finding the right way to tell and not making them, because I think sometimes as artists, we kind of go into this, we want to be creative, but we don't want to take away the authenticity. And I think that's where I'm at. It's like, I want to be creative and I want to say things in certain types of ways, especially when I see poets like tell their story and I'm so inspired by it. I'm like, dang, I would have never thought to tell my story like that. But what I find myself in places of now is like, I'll be just chilling at work and then a concept will come to me and I'm like, oh God, I could see that. But then I'm like, dang, if I do that like that, am I taking away from my own story? Because now I'm trying to glamorize it and I'm catching that fine line. Like, I don't know if this is okay, so maybe I shouldn't do that because I don't want to take away from the person that I'm trying to be and just being like, you know what, here's my pain and I'm putting in poetry. And then there's also this thing where people don't really deal with their traumas. Yeah. And you can put together a beautiful poem, but not actually do any work. Yeah. And I'm afraid of what it will bring up because there's a lot of times there's, again, things I don't want to talk about that probably should be talked about, but I just don't, I'm not really ready. And how does that look? And sometimes it's brought out to light.
And sometimes that work is messy too.
Yes.
Yeah, like it's real messy and it's hard to like look at something you created that's a result from you and call that thing messy because it like comes from a part of you.
Yeah, and I think it also could be like when you transform as a poet too, or as a creative in general, because I feel like I'm one way, but if I decide to say I want to tell my story in a more creative way and things like that, now I'm transforming because I'm not just being my regular pen paper expressing myself. Now I'm breaking it apart. Like if I'm having Legos and building something that's so complex, it's not as easy. So it's like I got layers and things like this to this. I'm an onion. No.
I'm an onion is insane. It's funny though, because you be on me about saying brick by brick, but I feel like that's been really the motto of everything, especially like seeing you grow within the community. Like I really did see you like brick by brick piece of thing together. So it's like, what was your poetry looking like in New York versus how foundation you created for yourself and then you created for yourself here in Carolina?
I feel like I'm way more noticed and or valued here than I was in New York. not to say that I wasn't good, but I think when you've got good around every corner, it's a little hard for somebody to really see you. Like in certain spaces, it's like, nah, she was like good, she was amazing. But then it just depends because New York was so different. It depends on what people are looking for and things like that. So I can't really say completely, but I still feel like I had my own lane. I was my own person, and I will always be true to my own person because I have no shade to nobody. But I never really was a poet it's not that I don't think these topics are important. I'm not a woke poet or somebody that's going to talk about all the Black problems and things like that, because I feel like there's so many people taking care of that topic. I don't need to be the plus one. You go ahead, you do your thing. That's your lane. That's cool. And I'm not saying it's not important. It absolutely is. Talk about all those things that matter, but that's, it's just not for me. I'm going to mind my business,
I was going to say, at the same time, I've heard you address those things still in your work too, because it's like you have a voice and opinion on the matter and your voice deserves to be heard. And there's somebody out there that needs your voice the way you do it too.
Yeah, this
is
true.
Like, it's like it's certain platforms where like I seen you go into and it's like we can touch the same stage, but you're going to touch somebody that I can't.
That's true.
That's
true. I sometimes I guess I just don't think about that because I'd be like, go ahead, that's you. Hold it down. I feel you because you got that to a T. Me, I'm be like, now he is important. He is a Black man. Okay, I don't want to mess that up. So I'm like, go ahead, y'all do y'all thing because I like when you did it. You did it when you did it.
That's fair. I'm paying just homage and respect to the people that.
One day, I have a dream, but
one day I have a dream is insane.
But yeah, I'm not there yet.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I think it's all about growth. What are some areas like in your career as far as like spoken word and artistry that you're like growing and challenging yourself?
Oh man, so it's a lot of the things that I always wanted to do, but I just don't do them. So like things like this, doing a podcast, like I've done them, but it's not something I've done consistently. I used to want to do this whole thing. It was a 2-cent segment. I used to do it on my Instagram story, and everybody was like, "We want to see you do it more," because it literally was just me like, say something happened. I don't know, like. The first one was like based on friendship. And I was just like, well, what is friendship? And I started talking about friendship and I was just doing it in my little British accent. Like, what is friendship? What do you think it really is? Do you think it's this? Do you think it's that? And whatever. And I had these
That's not a bad British accent though. I might hear the hello, governor.
Listen, and I had like these 2 pennies. Everybody knows that was just my thing. I was much younger. It was just a comical thing. So I'd either put them like here, 2 pennies here, 2 pennies here, or 2 pennies here. It was just a weird thing because it was my 2 cents. Yeah. So I was just like, okay. And I was like, but nobody asked me for my 2 cents, and I just get up out of there. So it was like I did want to make it a thing, and I had like made a whole corner in my house and everything. But then I guess got the best of myself, and I was like, nah, ain't nobody gonna see this. Don't do it. So I just never did it.
But even now, like I see you like becoming your own brand, like outside of a stage, like even your personality alone, like even on the podcast, I'm pretty sure.
Everybody tell me I missed my call, and they're like, you should have been out there acting. You should have been doing something else, not what you're doing.
I mean, it's not too late though.
It's never too late. They need actors until they die. So listen, they need some old lady.
Till they die is insane.
Listen, and then some. You can still be in the casket, like
put them in the casket.
Nah, so yeah, I mean, I still think about it, but I worry about my daughter and things like that. Like, how would that look? And if I got to go away and stuff. So I just be like, sometimes, you got to put your dreams on hold. Yeah.
So. I mean, I still see you stepping into new challenges. Like, I know you just joined the slam team. Yeah. Tell me what you want to talk about that.
Oh, man. So I've wanted to do slam since obviously living in New York and starting poetry there in like 2018 or whatever. And I did like 1 slam, I think, in New York. And I won 2nd place off a technicality. And I was so mad.
Not a technicality.
Yeah, because I read from my phone. But I was like, but he had a prop though. And y'all said no props. He used the mic as a prop. So I was like, that's crazy. Like, I should have won. But yeah, other than that, like, I was like, okay, I think I could do it. But what stopped me was, honestly speaking, it was more me. It's my decision to not do it. But I think everybody around me not having that belief in me, or if I was to ask, or just watching them. System. Yeah, and it kind of like watching them like be around other people. I think that's one thing I take too personally, is when I sit and I watch everybody and see who everybody shows love to the most. And it was like, yeah, all right, that's their journey. They deserve that love and whatever. But hey, I'm here.
But you deserve it too. Right, you just got to advocate for your own.
And see, that's the thing I'm not good at, because I feel like if it's going to be genuine, I ain't going to ask for it. Y'all just going to give it to me. And sometimes it's okay to simply say, hey,
You know what them old folks say? Them closed mouths don't get fed.
This is true. You know? So yeah, I've learned that now as being out here. And shout out to Shamanique, because Shamanique definitely, she's one of those people that's gonna say, "Hey, I need this," and I've learned to be like, "Okay, maybe she right. I could say I want to do this or I want to do that. Hey, can y'all come see me?"
Let me look at the camera and say, "Shout out Shami." But no, definitely. And even seeing you step into like slam poetry, you know, competition poetry, and do your thing. Like I see you growing and pushing yourself, you know, and I see you just having that hunger, like that, like, you know, that hunger mentality.
It ain't hit me yet. I was talking to SNS about this, and I was just like, it didn't hit me that I'm in a slam team. It's just like, I'm in a slam team.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's just like, okay, but I guess.
But you doing the damn thing though. Like trying. For real. Like nah. You're not trying, like you really doing. And like I see the growth too. So and keep pouring into that, because like every time you touch the stage, like I see that fire in you. And it's like I'm pretty sure the viewers get that from you too as well.
I hope so.
How does I know you mentioned like a little bit about, you know, like motherhood and you know, like that always being a factor that you consider. Like, how does your journey in motherhood transition into like you expressing yourself through your poetry?
So when I first started, my daughter, she was 18, 13. I don't know, that's about 5, 6, somewhere around there. I don't know. My math ain't math. But
you get at words, not math.
Yeah. Listen, okay? And even that, I can't spell some things either. See? Ain't there. But see, with her, I liked that she always looked to me for everything. She wanted to be just like me. Sometimes she still do. But I'm like, you know, I wanted to teach her something. Like, you can face your fears, because when I was young like her, I was afraid of everything. I was not going to, I promise you, not going to do nothing. So for her, it was like, if you could see mommy doing this all the time. So I used to bring her with me to shows all the time. Like, you're going to see me. Sometimes I let her do it with me because she would hear me practice so much. So she'd be like, no, you got to say it louder. You got to do like this. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. And I'd be like, girl, like, and when I started bringing her with me, I had like some old poem, terrible. But she used to be like, treacherosity, hit me to your philosophy. It was philosophy, but she couldn't say it. But it was like, okay, you know, and she would just try and do it with me and be like, can I come over there with you too? And I even let her do like one day where we had like a jam session. I'm like, get up there, just say anything. She was like, I went to school today. And the girl was mean, and I was like, don't be mean to me. And everybody egging her on made her feel good. So I'm like, support. If you can keep that confidence levels going and just seeing me like, oh, look at my mommy. She's not afraid to tell the whole world, like, I'm broken, but I'm not completely broken. Like, I got broken pieces, and I'm picking myself and putting myself back together. That's good. She may not appreciate it right now because she doesn't understand it. But eventually she's going to look back and be like, dang, like, that takes a lot. It's not a small thing, like, to just be like, hey, this is all the things that happened to me, but I'm still here and I'm still okay.
That takes strength too. Like, one, I mean, it takes strength to be vulnerable in a room full of strangers, but it takes even more strength to be vulnerable in like a little person.
Is watching every second of it.
Right. Exactly. And you have to be conscious of like what you pouring into them as well as like what they're receiving.
That's why I listen. Yeah, I mean, I have some nonsense, but I don't really talk about a lot of nonsense or in my poetry. Everything, even if it get a little crazy, it does have a message at the end of the day. I'm never just going to get up there and just be saying something to say something. I have a voice for a reason. I'm going to use it with intention, not just because I want to be the biggest, the best, or whatever. No, I'm just here to say my piece. If anything added comes from it, that's cool. That's just God. But I'm not here for that. I'm just here to get it out.
The biggest. The largest. I got a little bit of foolishness in me. That's good, though. Because I just was saying, like, even on your motherhood journey, like, even when you listen to, like, when you really sit and listen, you hear how vulnerable and transparent you are. And I think that transitions into you telling just like the journeys that you've experienced. In your poetry, like in your stories that you tell, what's like one story that you feel like you really need to tap into that you know you have part of your journey?
Well, I feel like, I mean, besides my upbringing, because I talk about the good stuff. For the most part, I don't really talk about that too much. And then obviously there's like one thing, I have wrote a poem about it, but I don't share it often. And that was about being taken advantage of with the censor out there. All right. But yeah, I don't talk about it much because that's tough. That's not something that I want to talk about, but I know that it is a big thing and it could protect so many different women because Men could be your friends, and that was my situation. They'll be your best friends or your good friends, and you think you're safe, you think you're okay, and you invite them into your homes, and it's like, you ain't good. Like, an opportunist is gonna be an opportunist, and if they see an opportunity, they're gonna take it. And you got to make sure that you always have good people around you. And with me already having anxiety, that just furthers everything. So like for me, like I know I shared that with you before personally. Coming out here, moving out here, relearning people, getting new friends. It's just me and my daughter out here. Nobody else. Every other family member is like 2-3 hours away or something like that. So close, but not close enough. And it's just like, I go through a lot mentally.
No,
there's
real.
good days, there's bad days, and then there'll be days where I'm like, I thought I was good, but out the blue, I want to bust out crying because I'm like, I'm so low. And it's like, I can tell y'all this stuff and be like, hey, I need a hug or whatever. But sometimes I'm like, nah, like, I'm so used to doing it on my own. Like, nah, I got this. And I have to learn to, walk into the self. But yeah. I ain't fully there. I'm just used to carrying it on my own and being like, all right, let me figure out what life is going to really look like. And then I can start to invite people in, and I got to learn people.
Yeah. And at your own speed too, and at your own pace, because I'm realizing like a true support system supports you. Like, it's not like I want what's best for you because it benefits me, but it's like what is really best from you.
And that's what I'm trying to gauge.
And if leaving Alyse alone is what's best for Alyse, then then as somebody who truly supports you, I have to understand like that's what's best for you, and just trust and know that your support system will come around when you feel like
I pray. Got to pray on it. Got to pray.
I feel like it also speaks to what you were saying earlier about how like the stories have to be heard because you never know who's experiencing that and doesn't have the strength to vocalize their story too. But I know like in your own journey, in your own time, you're gonna tell the story that needs to be told.
It be coming, I promise. Them concepts, they just be like going. I'm like, God, come on.
No.
Not right now.
Because at the same time, you got to protect your mental state. And it's like, just like I know, like you see a lot of artists, sacrifice pieces of themselves for a performance.
And then you got to be ready for that backlash too.
Exactly.
That's what I feel like. Because even like certain moments in my life, it's like, okay, I tell a story and this is what happened. But now people got their opinions. They could say, especially if you decide you want to put it on social media or if they wanted to come up to you after a show or whatever, especially if you start to get well known and stuff, you got to deal with that. And it's like, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm having a good night. It's my birthday. Yo, that poem you did about that. Now you done fucked my whole day. They will. I don't want to think about that right now, but it meant something to you. And I gotta take that responsibility and be like, I'm glad it did something for you, and then suck it back down and have enough within myself to be able to keep going for the rest of the day or whatever. So,
whenever you present that to the world, you got to be willing to stand on that truth because it's like you may be done with the piece. You could do a whole set. That could be your first poem, but it's still sitting on them.
Right. Somebody is like, dang, I'm still marinating on that.
Still marinating. And the minute you step off that stage, I'm ready to, let you know. I gotta talk to you.
So how did you? And then they want to know how you did such and such, and it's just like, I don't even know how I did such and such. I woke up every day and said, God, please, or I wrote down something or read something or something. Like you do what you do to keep on going.
But that's still your truth though, and it's valued. For real. For sure. And of course, the last thing I'm gonna ask is the piece that we heard you do earlier. Can you give the viewers some insight to it, and then tell us what the name was?
Oh man, so that poem, I love it because it's my mental reminder and affirmation to myself. So sometimes when I get down or whatever, I'll just say the poem over and over and over again until I believe back in myself again. Because I feel like oftentimes, I've made a lot of friends and I've lost a lot of friends, and it comes with your journey in life and things like that. But I felt like there was a point in time where it was like, I couldn't do nothing right. Like no matter what friend I made, it was like, well, you weren't doing enough of this. You weren't doing enough of that. And it was like, dang, like, well, what, if you don't tell me what you want or expect from me, I don't know what type of person or friend to be to you. I'm gonna just do what I think is the right thing. And that's where good intentions, bad decisions can come in. Cause you can have the purest intentions, but for somebody that don't understand that, it's a bad decision because now you done messed up something, but if they don't say it, it makes it bad. And I'm like, you know what? I had to remind myself that there's so many people that do love me. And there's so many situations I've been in that's proven I'm a good person, but I got to remember that. I got to hold on to that. So I took that time to say, let me just pour into myself. I'm so busy pouring things out of myself and not something back in. So I said, well, I want to take this and just keep this for me. And that poem is it's called To Know Me Is to Love Me. And I'm convinced I have more than one heart. It's the only logical explanation for why I'm still here when I know I felt my heartbeat snatched right out my chest. more than just once. And I'm sure after all the many arrhythmias that it sped up too fast and just stopped. I remember once that it felt so hollow because it sank too deep and I couldn't breathe. I'm positive I felt my heart explode. At least twice. My heart's literally been broken more times than you can count, and I'm sure you'd say it's because I am strong that I'm still here, or I'm immortal, but I am nothing of the sort. I am just kind, and that doesn't take much strength. No, I'm not a perfect person, mother, daughter, sibling, or friend, but to know me is to love me. I like Mickey Mouse. A lot. I often imitate British accents because I am good at it and it makes me feel happy. I find joy in singing around the house even though I can make ears bleed, but I am content with knowing that I can hit a note or two. I have at least 8 different laughs. Each vary in pitch, but everyone's favorite seems to be my giggles, so I pray it remains infectious. I believe I am the definition of passion and there's nobody that can tell me otherwise. I love the sight of the moon at night and sitting beside water as it ripples, waves, or crashes. I often sit and pretend I am one with the earth, still and free. I sometimes picture me being Rose from the Titanic when the wind blows a nice breeze on me, like most people, at least I think. My favorite date was going to Chuck E. Cheese. It felt good to know that I could make my ex's childhood feel complete even though he was 19 and had never been. Seeing the smile spread across his cheeks as we played and stole some kids' tickets was priceless. I give and make amazing gifts. I am in love with love, to the point that it could be considered an unhealthy obsession. However, I love the movies The Notebook and Set It Off. I think that they speak volumes about me. I am a hopeless romantic, and even though life gives me hell, I'd be nothing without my friends. I often give too much of me. I believe in being understanding to a point that is so undeserving, but you can't tell me not to listen. I could be irrational. I cry for everything. I fight hard for what I believe in. I try my hardest to believe in me. I sometimes find it hard to breathe when somebody leaves me. I pick myself apart like a scab because I can't deal with seeing an imperfection on me. I genuinely love so hard that my emotions get the best of me, and I'd body slam every fear I have just so my daughter can manifest her destiny confidently. I struggle with depression 40% of the time. 30 goes to anxiety, 20 doubts, 10 fears, but who I am will not reflect all of what you never get to hear. I am thoughtful. I am kind. I write notes of affirmations to myself because I often feel unworthy of anything. I sat and wrote this poem to remind me that even when somebody makes you feel bad, to know me is to love me. To know me is to love me. To know me is to love me. My God, to know me is to love me.